Hello. I'm back. I wasn't making videos for a while, and then today you get me twice, twice. Um, for those of you who are watching the uh, replay, fast forward a little bit because I'm going to welcome people in. This is going to be one of the longer videos, but hey, watch as much of it that you can, and then maybe come back for more. Maybe do that. I'm just going to welcome people in. This is going to be a super vulnerable video, as well as one that I'll talk about the favorite part of my work, which is being an empath and a sensitive and dealing with vampires. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take my hair down. Oh, yes. I'm at the end of sort of almost at the end of my work day. I just finished sessions for the day, and I've been wanting to update you all on things that are going on. I know you've been seeing different things that have been happening, but I wanted to sort of share something that was kind of significant, actually, that I think is important to share. And I feel like I've been hearing this, but I feel like I have been neglecting my empath sisters and my sensitive sisters. This is something that I've always taken a lot of pleasure in talking about, is that journey of being as sensitive and understanding more about how I arrive and interact with this world that does have vampires in it. So if you're out there and you're watching and listening, please give me some hearts, give me some thumbs up or whatever to let me know that you're there. It is very strange to do online videos because you actually never know if people are there until they say something. And I'm running this from a StreamYard, so I actually can't see you on Facebook. So let me know in the comments or the thumbs up or the hearts that you're here. Okay, I'm going to get started with this. Hey, Franklin, how's it going? Hello. All right, so I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a long video, and I hope you stay with me for this story because this is a very powerful story, and it's important for those of you, especially who are dealing with your own sensitivities and dealing with people in your life that really, or situations in your life that really play on your sanity and your nerves. So Franklin saying it's going well. All right. Welcome everybody in. I'm about to tell you, this is probably one of the most vulnerable videos I've made in a long time. Let me know that you're here. Facebook is weird. This platform is weird where I cannot see if you're actually here. You have to give me thumbs up and comments. Empath woes, he says. Franklin. So, as you know, well, actually, as there's a lot of new people on my page, so I know you might not know. One of my most passionate things I like to talk about is empaths, vampires, helping people understand what we sometimes call like mental illness and irresponsible energy and mentalities from sort of the spiritual perspective. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but I do live in this world. I have experience and I have sight. And so do you. So you can put these things into your own words, and I encourage you to. And as you learn about them, as you draw on your own wisdom, please then teach other people. Okay, that's basically what I am doing. Yes, read the books. I read some of the books. Yes, work with coaches and therapists and whoever you need to work with, but also learn how to put all this stuff in your own words so that you can teach from your specific wisdom. All right? You dig? Do you understand? All right, so for the last couple of weeks, I'm not going to get into names and everything, but I got involved with helping a community, and within this community, there was a lot of conflict and a lot of people who had opinions. Franklin says, dig. All right. I love when I get the comments. I know you guys are listening. I love it. Thank you, Franklin. Okay. So I was involved with the community, and there was a lot of conflict and fighting, a lot of strong opinions, and a lot of different ways of communicating. Some ways of communicating that was helpful, some ways of communicating that was, it's like on social media. So there's like some ways of communicating on social media that naturally just doesn't, people can't understand from each other. Like people have a hard time understanding each other because it's social media, because we're on, because we're on that platform. And then there's people whose communication, you could tell in their intentions that they were there to just derail and create conflict and insult, whether or not they think it was that was the consistent impact it had, right? And so instead of in this community, what I was experiencing was, instead of in this community of people giving grace and working together and speaking to each other like human beings and adults and giving each other the benefit of the doubt, there was, some of what happened was just straight up attacks, right? And the very specific types of attacks that were happening, really, I didn't realize it was getting to me. Because I'll tell you what, on my own Facebook page, on my personal page, and on this page right here, Alexandra, actually wherever you're listening to me from, I learned a long time ago that if someone approaches me in a specific way, and I can sense it from just in my body and in my intuition, and with the words they're using and how they use them, there's certain ways that some people will approach me that I just cut it off. Just no, I can't. That's for my own mental health care. And also, I have a mission. I do not have time for people approaching with disrespect. I just don't. Every once in a while, I'll give it a moment. I'll give an opportunity to someone who's approaching me with garbage. Even if some of the content of what they're saying is true or important, if they approach it wrapping it in garbage and handing it to me, then no, I just can't. It derails what I'm doing. It derails my energy. It can make me sick. It plays on brain damage that I already have. I have to be very clear about that. You dig? Let me know in the comments. I know I can see that there's people in numbers, but I don't know who you are, and I don't know if you're listening. So let me know I know you're listening in the comments if you're in the comments. Okay? So that's how I roll in my life. However, when I was in this community, I'm playing by, there's just different ways you have to interact with people like that, right? And so I was having to, yes, says Andrea. All right. Thank you. Andrea. Yes. Okay. Or maybe Andrea. One of those. I like the name. All right. Hey, Beauty. Hey, Connie. How's it going? Franklin saying, protect your energy. Right. Exactly. So I found myself in a new situation in which I had to learn different ways to protect myself. But at the time, I just, because I was so busy and I had a lot of, August is my busiest month. And so I just, and this can happen to anybody, where I forgot about reading the signs of PTSD for myself. Now, I want to say a caveat here. You notice right down here, right down here, I have PTSD with a question mark. And that is because someone just told me, or somebody just shared with me, that this D maybe is not accurate, because PTS, post-traumatic stress, is actually a normal thing. It's not really, her idea is that it's not a disorder. If you have something that gives you post-traumatic stress, it is a normal and natural response to have this. So calling it she feels like there shouldn't be a disorder. And so I'm exploring that right now. And I want to pass that on. That's why there's a little question mark right here about. So anyway, so for this video, I'm going to call it PTS as an exploration, because part of what I do is invite you all vulnerably into my exploration. So we'll see where it goes. If you quote me on it, quote the whole message, right? So I just wasn't paying attention to what was happening to me. And I started to notice last week, as these conflicts with these specific characters was escalating, I started to notice that my sleep didn't matter anymore. Like I was getting 9 hours, 8 and 9 hours of sleep, and I was like, oh, I feel myself getting exhausted. I thought it was just because I was doing more work and taking on new responsibilities, but I was starting to notice that even if I was scheduling more sleep because of that, and I'd wake up, and after 8 or 9 hours, I woke up as if I had not had any sleep whatsoever. It was and I remember looking at the clock on the third day of this and going, what happened? And I'm looking at myself for bruises, and I'm like, did I sleep really? Was I thrashing in what happened? It was like I didn't sleep at all, right? And then I was taking naps during the day, and then I started to notice that my esteem started dropping. I heard myself in a business conversation shortchanging myself, and I was like, huh, why did I say that? Luckily, I was talking to somebody really gracious, and they were like, why would you say that about yourself? And I'm like, I don't know. And they were like, yeah, check in with that. I was like, I will, Okay. So Andrea is saying, I know exactly what you mean, vampires, right? So, and for those of you who are new to this terminology, vampires, you can take it, I mean it literally and metaphorically. I used to say narcissist. Everybody's a narcissist. But really, like, I'm not a doctor. I can't qualify everybody. So when I say vampires, I mean people who do a lot of narcissistic, manipulative, consistent, manipulative behaviors, narcissistic behaviors, any behaviors that suck the life out of me. And I can feel it. I mean, I'm telling you the story right now. Many of you have experienced this and don't have the terminology for it. I don't know if it's always appropriate for us to say they're a psychopath or a narcissist, because sometimes we don't know. Sometimes people do that because of trauma. Sometimes they're not that because they are dealing with their own trauma. Sometimes you can have a friend who's awesome, and then all of a sudden they are a vampire to you for a period of time. So vampires, someone who's consistently sucking the energy, the life force out of you. So I wasn't getting it. So the sleep for some reason wasn't helping. And I was moving so fast and not checking in with myself. This is the beginning of this week that I was just like, oh, maybe it's something else. And I was looking at what I was eating, and I was kind of just like discovering, like, what are the little things? Is the position I'm sleeping in? Then I noticed the self-esteem. My self-esteem was dropping. The way I spoke about myself. I was like, okay, where's that coming from? And then for the last 3 days, brain fog. Not the normal brain fog. Now, I've had some issues with my blood before, where like I had brain fog and brain fog and like short-term memory loss before, but like from severe anemia. But this was different. This was like fuzziness, as if nerves, when you like hit a nerve or you bruise a nerve anywhere in your body, and you feel that sort of like crackly, fuzzy numbness. It's like crackling underneath the fuzziness. My friend told me once that that's actually your nerve trying to like figure out its connection, but because there's also pain and it's been going on for so long, it's also numb, right? But I was feeling that in my brain. Now, I have not been diagnosed, but I'm willing to bet, and I've been saying this for many years, I have brain damage. I can feel the brain damage. Where did my brain damage come from? Vampires. From dealing with vampires. Look it up. There are studies on this. Yes, you can argue with me about how you don't know that unless you're diagnosed. And it's dangerous to say that about yourself unless you have been to a doctor. I'm telling you right now, I know what's going on in my mind. Yes, it can be fixed. Yes, when I'm in a position to go and get more medical help for that, I will. It has not decreased the function of what I do. It has not, I'm sure if you look at the population, most of us have some sort of brain damage. So for the last 3 days, I could feel that. So the fatigue and the lower self-esteem and this like fuzz going on. And I was like, what? When is the last time? So immediately I went to discovery mode. When's the last time I felt this? What's going on here? What are all these symptoms? What do they mean together? Why am I so tired? And then I heard myself speak on the phone to my friend. And on the phone, I was manic. And I wasn't talking about anything that I haven't talked about before, or anything that scares me really. But I was just like talking so fast. Everything was coming at me so fast. There's no room to breathe. And then I was like, oh, I just realized I've been short of breath for a few days as well. So shortness of breath, low self-esteem, manically talking, brain fuzz, this like brain damage fuzz. And I was like, oh, she's like, this sounds like you, this is what it sounded like the last time you dealt with a vampire, which was years ago. And I was like, oh, that's what this is. Do you understand? For those of you who are there, let me know in the comments or the hearts, or, let me know that you're out there and you're listening. Okay. Do you know this story? Do you understand the concepts of what I'm saying? Have you experienced something like this in the past? For me, I went through a section of my life where the spirits were convinced that I needed to go through some sort of schooling of what vampires can do. And so there was a lot of them in my life. And I went through this phase of like realizing like, oh, maybe I just can't date them, but that's what it is. And then I was like, oh, I had a teacher. I was like, oh yeah, I can't even have teachers that are these. And then it was like people I worked with, oh, well, I work with them. It's not like I'm dating them or they're teaching me. And then I was like, oh, well, then I found out, so it went on. I was like, oh, it turns out that for me, it is dangerous to have these people near me in any capacity. And yet I live in the world as a human being. So I just have to be careful of that and not let myself get deep in with vampires. You know what I'm saying? So I've blessedly been living for years now without being close in or having any kind of bonding or a lot of interaction with those that I classify as vampires until recently. And then my body ignited. And this is what I'm getting at for everybody here. Andrea says, I so appreciate this. All right. Yes. So my body ignited. Part of what manipulators and vampires do is they try to separate you as much as they can from your intuition and your instinct. Because when you're plugged in with your intuition and instinct, you know how to get out of there. As a matter of fact, for most of you, if you've experienced being in relationships with those that we call vampires, you will remember that somewhere in the beginning of that relationship, you did have those like knee-jerk reactions. You did have that repelling. You did, and then you got love bombed, and then you got isolated, and whatever it was that they did, and you forgot about those instincts, or those got numbed down, or you were made to manipulated to believe that those things were actually problems and not real, and some sort of weakness you had, when really it was your strength telling you to get the fuck out of there, right? So I remembered. So it took about 2 weeks for this to set in for me. It escalated in this last week, and my body, after this first week of dealing with it, my body started to kick in. Nope. We're taking all your systems offline. We don't want you interacting. We're going to make it hard for you to think. We're taking everything offline. It's igniting a process. Okay, that's what was happening to me. And it took me about a week to catch up with the process. And then I remembered the last time that all of this was happening at the same time, the peak of it was I was white knuckling my steering wheel for no apparent reason that I could remember. I was driving and I was white knuckling my steering wheel as if something was after me, and nothing. I was just going to drop something off at a friend's house, and I got shortness of breath, and I got fuzzy. I forgot where I was. I parked my car and I got out. I'm like in between my knees like this on the street breathing. No one was talking to me. There was no incident like right before that. It was just, I was just in this. And from that day, my empaths, my sensitives, everyone who's dealing with vampires or is afraid of dealing with vampires, I said, when I realized what was going on, I could categorize it for myself. I said over and over to myself, these are the symptoms of what happens when I deal with vampires. The nerves shooting off of my brains under fuzz because something's going on. There's brain damage. The fuzz, the sleep meaning nothing to me, the shortness of breath, the white knuckling of a steering wheel, the manic talking. And I would say this over and over to myself as I was digging myself out. Okay, this is years ago. And I said, these are the things that happens when I deal with vampires. And it took about a week for those things to get night. It took about a week of those things happening for me to go, oh, and let me tell you something. This is the best part. Last night, when I named it, when I said, oh, I'm dealing with vampires, this is PTSD, or PTS, if you heard the earlier part of the video. This is what this is. I'm telling you, I had an up leveling of all of that stuff shut. I felt my body go, oh, she knows. Okay, we don't have to do this anymore. I got energy back just from naming it. Remember, it's been a few years since I've had to deal with this. Just from naming it, my body went whoop. Okay, we're working together now on this. Now, it will take a little more time, obviously, for me to get back into my flow. I can work through all of these things. If I let it go on, I might have to cancel all my appointments, all the things I was doing, but I caught it because I figured out exactly what it was for me. I named it, and I reminded myself, I set that seed for myself 4 years ago, to remember what this is. Oh, there's a lot of comments. That resonates from closest relationships and partners rippling outward to realize you can't have in your sphere. Yeah. I've read and heard that they have a hooked aura. It's not only psychological, but energetic and automatic for them. Yeah. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you'll hear me say a lot of times, put their hooks in me. What they do is the vampires will put hooks in usually it's here. There's other ways, like an incubus will put a hook down here, right? Incubus and succubus put hooks, down here where you experience the most sexual acts. Most vampires hook right here, right into your crown, control your mind, destroy your synapses. Okay. They do it energetically and then it affects you physically, right? It's like they're constantly fishing for light. Yep. It's like a shunt. It's like, imagine a fish hook with a shunt. For those of you who don't know what a shunt is, it's like when you put it in a tree and you get the syrup out, that's a shunt, right? So the hook has a shunt in it and then they're drawing from you, right? That's why we can not spend time with a vampire for a year and then they can call you after a year. And if you haven't found a way to deal with that, they can just like foop, 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 tap on it. Right? Vampires. I almost feel like I have vertigo when it happens. Huge energy drain. It really hits me while driving, just like that. Yes, resonates so much. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline and Andrea. Thank you. Anybody else out there have any comments or even questions? I'll take questions on this for sure. I just wanted to tell you this story and tell you that for those of you who are sort of buried in this sometimes, buried in this in your life sometimes, or feel like it's hard or that you want to get help and you feel like you can't afford the help, right? This is a way to help yourself maybe now and in the future. Name it so that you can get that uplifting. Name it so that you can know how to set the boundaries. And I did do that once I realized, like, oh, who these beings were, these vampires. I said, okay. And who knows, friends, they might come back. They might come back for more. I don't know. It seems to be their MO. And so my MO, when it's in my space, in my forum, is to give them the boot immediately and move on. I also, and somebody reminded me of this, I also remembered, because what was happening was I was starting to get fear with these vampires. What I also remembered was that I have experienced in my life a few, I can say there's 3. I've experienced a lot, but at least 3 of the most powerful vampiric people that one I quite possibly, I think was definitely like a sociopath, right? We'll put them in the vampire category though. Some of the most powerful vampires, super highly intelligent wordsmiths. These vampires I was dealing with were not that. They have knowledge. I'm sure they have followings and knowledge or whatever. These vampires had nothing on the ones that I've experienced. And yet I survived. And yet I thrived afterwards. And yet I met with their stories after being away from them for many years and realized that they are swimming in their own poison still, never changing, always doing the same thing. I've had smear campaigns before from vampires in my life, and never once has it taken me down. And I had to remember that I couldn't remember those things before I named what this is for me. I couldn't name those things. I started getting into the fear of like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I named it. Oh, this is PTSD. Oh, I'm dealing with vampires. And then I was like, oh, I'm a slayer, right? So I'm going to read a couple more comments and then I'm going to go. But I appreciate you all being here and listening to this story. I just wanted to pass it on, sort of let you know what's going on here and how I go through this, and hopefully it will help you in some way. Jacqueline is saying, resonates so much. It's affirming to hear that you sometimes don't realize and name it until after. Yeah, even despite a lot of awareness around the subject in general. Yeah, at any point in your life, when it's a different nuance or scenario, like a group that's supposed to be helpful or a person that presents themselves as enlightened is more masked and it takes a little longer. Yes. Jacqueline, oh yes, it doesn't seem to be threatening at all. Then are. Yes, yeah, they can be, they totally cool people, and then all of a sudden Andrea says, I have to run, but I can't tell you how much I needed this tonight. We'll finish later tonight. Thank you so much. Take good care of you. You too. Thank you. Franklin is saying, how did you pull yourself out of that space? Well, I named it last night, right? So after the naming of it, I had that elevation, right? But so then I slept. So I do all the things that everyone should do to take care of themselves, but I like doubled it up. So I made sure I got the 9 hours of sleep. Right. And then tonight I will get 9 hours of sleep. I have naps scheduled for the next 2 days. Sleep is one of the most important things, especially when we're talking about brain damage and how it's affecting your brain. Give yourself enough time for your body to do the shutdown process, to do the rebalancing process, to do the diagnostics and all of that, and then wake up without the rush or stress of now my day starts. Right. So the sleep is so important. So I give myself more sleep. I check in with my support system, right? So my godmother, I check in with my friends. I let them know what's going on and what I'm dealing with. I have a couple friends that I've asked to ask me, like certain questions, like how you do. I've asked them to specifically give me that care, and eating well, right? Upping all of my self-care. And then for myself, I also do scripts. So I know that with the types of characters that I was dealing with, they might not be done. They might come back. They seem to be focused on, for some reason, they seem to be focused on their conflict, and they've named me as sort of the face of whatever the pain is, and so I put together scripts. For me, I won't interact with them, but if they take it to a level where I do have to be interactive in some way, then I prepare scripts for myself of exactly where I stand on on the issue. Sorry for all the dings. Exactly where I stand on the issue, and I let myself know exactly what my boundaries are, and I do not budge. So that way I can feel armed in the case that I have to interact again. And that if I have to be in a situation, which I don't know, if I have to be in a situation in which I deal with these people, that when they're prodding and poking and blaming and naming and whatever it is, that I've already decided before I walk in, before I have to be there for some reason, that this is where I stand. Period. You know what I'm saying? Does that answer the question, Franklin? And then, I check in with myself again in a week and say, am I needing something more? Is there more that I need to sort of rebalance myself fully? And also, when I'm feeling completely like, I got this, I'm rebalanced and everything. The other thing that I do is, just like I did before, when I said I get the brain fog, I get the, and all those things, and it helped me now. If there's anything else that I learned from this situation, I add that and plant that seed. So if this were to come up again, I'm super sensitive. I have a lot of light. I talk about divisive issues. I'm open, so I'm an easy target for vampires. Um, I put on a lot of protection on myself, but um, I I know and I realize that that they will come back. Some other vampires and some other situations will come back, and so I do accept that about this journey in my life, right? Franklin says, yes, thank you. Okay. So, friends, do you dig? Do you understand? Give me thumbs up in comments and yeses. And my favorite heart combination right now is red, red, black, blue, red, black, blue, blue, black, red. Those three, I love those. Let me know. Is there anything else that I can deliver to you? Is there anything else you want to know? I love reciprocation. Please share this or tag your friends. The friends who need to hear this. Tag them wherever you're seeing this video. Um, have a happy Sunday. I feel good. I feel good about where my life is going. I feel good that I'm connecting with you, and even though there seems to be some chaos in the world, and that I'm getting texted constantly here, I feel good about the direction our world is going in. Thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you all. Mwah, 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 mwah. All right. Bye.